to revitalize a neighborhood on the west side of Chicago.
But it's being carried out by multiple women in multiple ways.
In this space, and me aspiring to be here, it just and to
Goal
be here
of
now
building
is just
back the West Side's middle class.
For us, what that means is how do we decrease since the 50s.
Benita Harrison of Sunshine Management Community Group says breaking ground as a woman in development.
Advantage of taking power that we can.
Imagine walking through a neighborhood where one of America's greatest heroes once marched for peace, only to find yourself in a war zone where peace was never an option. A place where the dreams of equality were systematically gunned down and replaced by the brutal law of the trigger. This is North Lawndale, Chicago, the neighborhood where Martin Luther King Jr. once lived and organized, now transformed into a territory controlled by gang lords, where the only thing being integrated is violence into the fabric of daily life. What transformed the conscience of Chicago into its undeniable crime capital? The disturbing truth is that this wasn't an accident, it was a carefully engineered outcome, more calculated and sinister than most people can possibly imagine. The first thing that strikes you in North Lawndale isn't the expected sound of gunfire, it's the profound, unsettling silence of complete abandonment. Drive through these streets and you'll witness block after block of corpse-like buildings, their windows shattered like broken dreams, doors boarded shut with steel plates that might as well be tombstones. This is a landscape of intentional economic ruin, a modern ghost town in the heart of America's third largest city. But this haunting emptiness is a dangerous illusion. Behind these decaying facades, within these hollowed-out structures, a sophisticated shadow economy thrives with ruthless efficiency, completely controlled by one of America's most structured and disciplined street gangs, the Gangster Disciples. Here, their graffiti isn't mere vandalism. It's a property deed written in spray paint, a territorial claim that carries more weight than any official document. Their presence on the corner isn't simple loitering. It's a highly organized border patrol operation. This is a meticulously partitioned territory, a failed state hidden in plain sight within a major American city, where official crime statistics show rates 200% higher than Chicago's already troubling average, and where your life expectancy plummets by 16 years just by crossing the invisible neighborhood line that separates North Lawndale from more affluent areas. North Lawndale's collapse wasn't accidental. It was a slow, deliberate murder by public policy. Rewind to the 1960s, and this was a thriving, bustling working-class hub, home to industrial giants like International Harvester that employed 14,000 local residents in good-paying, unionized jobs that supported families and communities. Then came the planned, systematic exodus. Factories weren't just closing. They were being strategically relocated or permanently shut down in a calculated process of deindustrialization that deliberately stripped the neighborhood of its economic heart. As jobs disappeared, the middle class fled, and banks implemented ruthless redlining policies that ensured no new investment or mortgages could enter the community. But the final, lethal blow was perhaps the most strategic of all. Essential city services were deliberately scaled back to a bare minimum. Police presence transformed from community-oriented to purely reactive, showing up only after crimes occurred rather than preventing them. Schools were systematically underfunded, ensuring generations would lack quality education. Basic infrastructure was left to rot and decay. The system intentionally created a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. By the 1980s, the Gangster Disciples didn't need to conquer North Lawndale through some dramatic gang war. They simply moved into the social and economic space that the government had deliberately vacated. This wasn't an organic social breakdown. It was a hostile takeover of territory that the state had already surrendered through neglect and calculated policy decisions. The daily reality of life in contemporary North Lawndale represents a masterclass in urban survival under impossible conditions. The Gangster Disciples here have evolved far beyond a traditional criminal gang. They have become the de facto government, the primary employer, and the only functional judiciary. Their organizational hierarchy operates with greater efficiency and consistency than the city's bloated bureaucracy. Their laws are more immediately and consistently enforced than any official legal statutes. Walk through these streets with knowing eyes, and you'll witness the entire shadow system in action. A drug deal occurring in broad daylight isn't crime, it's commerce in an economy that has no other options. A teenage lookout positioned strategically on a rooftop isn't a delinquent. He's the neighborhood watch in a community the police have abandoned. A shooting isn't merely violence, it's corporate policy, a strategic message to rival factions, and a stark warning to the community about who truly holds power. The violence here is deeply systematic and purposeful. Turf wars over a single street corner, a territory that might generate just a few $100s a day, can claim a dozen young lives in a single month. Retaliation isn't driven by crime of passion. It's a cold, calculated business transaction necessary to maintain market control and organizational discipline. The most vulnerable residents, the elderly trapped in their homes, the children trying to navigate to school, have become prisoners in their own community, caught in the crossfire between a police force they deeply distrust and a gang structure they cannot escape. For them, the American dream has been reduced to a brutal, daily calculation of pure survival. Which route to take for groceries, what time to be home before dark, and how to avoid becoming another statistic in a neighborhood where life has never felt cheaper. Why does this intolerable situation persist year after year, decade after decade? Because contained chaos has proven to be manageable chaos from a systemic perspective. North Lawndale effectively serves as a social pressure valve for the rest of Chicago. By deliberately concentrating the city's most intractable problems, deep poverty, rampant addiction, relentless violence into these 50 square blocks, the city can effectively quarantine the social crisis, preventing it from spreading to more affluent and politically influential areas. Every year, tens of millions of dollars in government grants and nonprofit funding flow into North Lawndale, creating what critics call a poverty industry. An entire ecosystem of social workers, academic researchers, and community organizers whose employment depends on the perpetual crisis never actually being solved. If North Lawndale were genuinely fixed, the funding pipeline would dry up and these jobs would disappear. The gang structure and the aid industry have become two sides of the same coin. Both ultimately profit from maintaining the appearance of addressing the endless emergency without ever solving its root causes. The police play their assigned role in this tragic theater, making just enough arrests to keep statistics from spiraling completely out of control, but never enough to fundamentally disrupt the core criminal power structure that now governs these streets. It's a fragile, horrifying equilibrium of misery, carefully maintained because it serves too many interests to be truly challenged. The devastating fallout from this deliberately contained war doesn't remain within North Lawndale's invisible borders. It inevitably leaks and spreads throughout the city and beyond. The public health crisis born here, tuberculosis, hepatitis, opioid addiction, doesn't respect neighborhood boundaries, spreading through the city's hospital systems and shelter networks. The psychological trauma is systematically exported. Children who grow up in this relentless war zone develop severe PTSD that they carry into schools across Chicago, disrupting classrooms and demanding resources that the educational system simply doesn't possess. The economic cost to the city is truly staggering, with each homicide costing taxpayers over $1.2 million in police, judicial, and incarceration expenses, money that could transform the neighborhood if invested differently. But perhaps the most dangerous export is the model itself. The North Lawndale blueprint demonstrating how to control an urban population through calculated violence and strategic neglect is being carefully studied and quietly replicated in other struggling American cities. This isn't just Chicago's problem anymore. It's become a national test case for managed urban failure, and tragically, it's a test we are collectively failing. North Lawndale stands as living, breathing proof that some urban ruins aren't accidental. They are systematically engineered. It represents a permanent monument to a simple, brutal political calculation that it's ultimately cheaper and more convenient to manage a social disaster than to genuinely fix it, and that certain populations have been deemed expendable for the comfort and prosperity of the whole. The ghost of Martin Luther King's dream here is not merely a historical memory. It's a daily, searing accusation. It confronts us with the most uncomfortable question imaginable. What kind of city, what kind of country deliberately builds and maintains a ghetto where a vibrant community once stood and has the audacity to call it acceptable urban policy? If this unflinching look inside one of Chicago's most deliberately abandoned war zones has impacted you, we ask you to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Your engagement helps us continue investigating these hard truths that mainstream media often ignores. We're just beginning to uncover the disturbing realities that shape too many American cities. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next expose. Stay aware, stay questioning, and join us as we continue to reveal the uncomfortable truths about the world we've built. See you in the next video.